Today, I want to share one powerful technique that you can do in about 30 seconds that will significantly boost your confidence. And I don't want you to just take my word for it. I want you to watch this, try it out right now for yourself and feel that difference. And then you'll be able to use it in your life. And this is especially valuable anytime there's a situation you tend to be nervous ahead of time. So going to a party, a social event, networking thing, conference, a meeting, anytime you're like, oh boy, right? I'm afraid, I'm scared, or it just kind of pops up in a social situation. Use this and you will find that you can shift into a more confident state very quickly. So how do we do that? Well, what creates the social anxiety and the fear in the first place, right? Well, there's probably some sort of story going on. Oh, they're not gonna like me. I'm gonna mess this up. I'm not good enough. I don't belong here. They don't like me. Something like that, right? And that story, whether you're aware of it or not, creates a lot of fear in your body, with a lot of attention, right? This is going to go badly, or I'm gonna make a mistake and they're all gonna hate me. Whether that's true or not, like just that story that's real in your mind, your body's going to go into threat mode. Right? You're frightened. And when we're in threat mode, what do? When something is threatened, what's the most common response, right? It's to recoil, to run away. It might be to attack, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. But most people are going to want to freeze or recoil, unless you're like a trained fighter of some sort, right? So when that occurs, we're not going to go jump into the networking meeting and be like, hey, how's it going, Tom? Although you probably don't approach people like that anyway. But you're not going to be boldly, freely yourself. You're going to be like freaked out. And even if you go try to talk to people, you're going to be all tense inside, right? So what do? Well, a lot of people try to talk themselves through it. Like, listen, man, you can do this. You got this. Maybe not. Maybe you're just like getting smashed by your inner critic. You're a failure. You're awful. You suck. Ugh. But maybe you try to pump yourself up. Like, okay, I can do this. All right, here we go. It's going to go better than you think. It's okay. There's nothing to be worried about. It's fine. But what's happening inside? I'm still freaking out. I still have threat going on in my body. So what we need to do, and that's what this technique is about, is you need to shift your body. And if you've ever been to a Tony Robbins event, he's like the king of this. He has people jumping up and down for 5 days straight. Why? To train people, to show them, hey, when you do this, you can actually shift things. Now, what can you do now? Practice this. Well, maybe it's jumping up and down. Although jumping up and down, you might not be able to do all the time, right? I don't know if you're in a work meeting. I'm nervous. Hold on. Right? Maybe, I don't know where you work, but a lot of places it's not going to fly. So what do we want to do? We want to have a more subtle way to shift your energy. Now, I'm going to recommend doing it in a slightly less subtle way right now, and then once you've done it a few times, you can do a more sneaky version. All right, here's what it is. You're going to want to get a lot of breath flowing through your whole system. It's almost like, imagine you're kind of contracting and tensing up. We want to flush everything through. And you can almost imagine the breath is like flushing through your mind is all tight and contracted. And imagine it's like wind blowing through your whole system, including your mind. And it looks something or sounds something like this. Notice I start to move around. So again, this is the more obvious version, which you can do in a lot of places, right? Depends on where you are, but you can just be walking down the street and start to roll your shoulders a little bit. But it's full deep breaths, like all the way in, all the way out. They're audible. It means you can hear them. And you want to do maybe 5 to 7 of those, right? So you want to try that with me right now, like right there. You want to feel the air going into your belly, opening up your ribs, everything. And you might get a little lightheaded as you do this, so maybe not when you're driving or something like that, but just get 5 to 7 in and start to move your body around. And notice what will happen is there will be a shift, and maybe you have to go up to like 10 or 12, but somewhere in there, your body starts to kick into are we getting geared up to do something right now? Right? Because when we're in that contracted state, it's like, oh, are we freezing? Should we hide under the log so the fox doesn't get us? And you start to breathe, your body starts to mobilize. And with that mobilization in the body, all of a sudden your mind starts looking for what is it that we're going to do, as opposed to what do we got to hide from. So it starts to get you out of threat mode, not in like a relax, kind of meditate-y, pass out sort of way. This is more of an activation of your system. Now, if you're alone, you can go further, put some music on, maybe even say something like yes, or I got this. Use your voice. That's what I'll do in my in-person events with people, or even the virtual events. I'll have them do it in their own home, and we'll get the voice and the body even getting bigger with your body. Sometimes I'll have people get into it's called a victory pose, and you put your hand above your head, take a full breath in, and I'll start actually maybe 7 breaths in. So experiment with that. I encourage you to do that right now, right after you watch this video, and notice that there will be a shift in how you feel. You'll be more energy moving through your body. Then what do? Well, then you have a subtle version of it. And I use this for years, where let's say I'm sitting somewhere and like, okay, and the next person who's going to give a talk here is Aziz. And I'm like, oh shit, there we go. And right before that happens, under the table, I'll spread my fingers wide or down by my side. Why is that? It's a reminder gesture. They call it an anchor in NLP. And then I'll take one full breath in through my nose like this. No one notices that, right? Super subtle. But it's associated with what we just did there. And all of a sudden it reminds me there's a flush of power. I'm like, okay, I can do this. It gets me out of threat mode. And then it's game on. So you got to practice this stuff before you can do the subtle version. But trust me, this can be extremely useful going into situations that are uncomfortable. And I can't tell you how many people I work with, they're just tight and stuck and they're trying to ruminate their way out of it. You got to think this, I got to think that. And that can go on for hours or days or weeks or months or years or decades. And you can shift it with something like this. So share down below in the comments what you're finding most valuable. If you want to take things further, make sure you get my free mini course called 5 Steps to Unleash Your Inner Confidence. You can get it at draziz.com. Click down below in the description for more. I hope this serves you until we speak again. May have the courage to be who you are, to know on a deep level that you're awesome.